Coming up this week on the Nintendo Directors Podcast, Nintendo is hiring for a Zelda-related project. We give our top 5 NES Sports Games. Mark does a retrospective review of Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and more.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Brad.
We're two middle school band directors.
And you're listening to
Nintendo Directors. Hello, greetings, and welcome once again to another Nintendo Directors Podcast. This is episode number 3035, and the date is November 15th. We are recording this on Tuesday, November 13th, but you're hearing this on Thursday, November 15th in the future. By the way, my name is Mark Lago. I'm here with my co-host, Brad Beyer.
Greetings.
And we are an every other week podcast. If this is your first time listening, we are the Nintendo Directors. We do this, try to get these out on Thursdays for you. Every once in a while, being band directors gets in the way of things, or life gets in the way of things. Updating an iPad, which took, I think, a solid
absurdly
week.
long time. Yes. Somewhere in there. 12 days,
Yeah. Yeah, so we are two middle school band directors, and we love things Nintendo related, and we wave sticks at kids for a living by day, break clay pots by night.
We have exactly one student.
Our band, it's very healthy numbers, one, but that kid can play everything. They're really good. So, by the way, if you haven't watched our YouTube channel, please go check that out. And we now have someone with us tonight. Brandon Pruitt is going to be helping out with doing some video producing for us, which is awesome and not awesome, because then I can't be wearing nothing when I record this. It's not true. I've always worn clothes, but now I have to at least make sure I've shaved in the last month. So. But no, that's great. So I don't know if Brandon,
deodorant so the fans don't. Right.
I don't know if Brandon's doing any audio, but if he is, he can say hi right now.
No, he's not actually. He's just chilling and watching and.
All right.
Doing the video producing thing. So
Brandon said hi. You heard it here. All right. Anyway,
it's also very late, my friends. So if you're listening to this, please bear with us.
Anyways, you can find us on all of the things that you can get podcasts on. At least most of the things, all of the relevant things that you can get podcasts on. Please go review us on iTunes. We'd love you if you did that. And unless you're not going to rate us 5 stars, then please do not review us on iTunes. Anyways, so just a reminder that we're an every other week podcast, and we try to post by Thursdays at 9 a.m. And
every other Thursday.
Yeah, yes. And I'm going to stop talking. Let's do some news.
Let's do it.
All right, it's the news. The news this week is brought to you by... This is the same one we've done a couple times. But the news this week is brought to you by maybe you. You could be our first sponsor and fill this void when we launch our Patreon sometime in the next month or so. And it actually has been about a month now. So now we're into the first time
we did that. Yes.
Yeah, now we're in the or so. Yes. So but the video is actually edited. We just need to work on the Patreon tiers and everything like that. But anyways, so we would love to have you sponsor.
They'll be very prepared for it when it drops. They will be.
Yes. Yeah. So. Anyways, let's do some news stuff. Brad, take it away.
Hey, Nintendo's hiring.
I've applied.
Zelda. Yeah, right. There's a janitor position, and then you can also work on Zelda.
Yes.
No. This was just from a job listing from in Nintendo's website recently that was basically speaking about there's sort of a development role for a larger project that would require you to have experience in creating dungeons and working with level design mechanics, and also there was another note on there about how it would refer to like event in-game events, which led to a lot of speculation. But let's cover the first part of this first. Nintendo is making another Zelda game. Thank you, Captain Obvious. But also, Nintendo's making another Zelda game. That's great. Again, not really a surprise, but but cool. I mean, I guess this sort of officially confirms that they're doing something new.
Yeah, and I imagine they've been working on it for a little bit at this point, and I
for sure.
really hope that it's just Breath of the Wild 2, but
that would be great. I mean, do you think? I guess there are some people saying that this could just be, another A Link Between Worlds type, 2D Zelda or isometric type Zelda.
I feel like if they're going to do that, they really need to make the Legend of Zelda Maker, and
First.
You can make your own, NES styled Zelda, and then you could update it to like 16-bit graphics. I think that would be so fun.
I think it would be fun, but do you think it would actually work? I guess I think this has been tossed around several times before. Do you think Zelda Maker, because
it doesn't
we've all played plenty of Mario levels that just don't work for Mario Maker, right? They're just awful. And I think I think Zelda levels or dungeons or whatever take an even higher level of planning and preparation and design work.
It would for sure. The landscape would be littered with just turds, but there would be some diamonds to mine through. You'd get your hands dirty.
I want to believe. Yeah, I want to believe that can work. I just don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
You're
Anyway,
right.
I agree with you. I want more Breath of the Wild for sure. Once I finish the first one, we'll see.
So next decade.
Which there's an update on that here once we get to what we've been playing. But okay, but let's get back to that comment about making in-game events, which would seem to imply some sort of multiplayer? Question mark?
Yeah. And
how does that strike you? Because it kind of scares me, honestly.
Yeah, if once you go Zelda multiplayer, you're one step away from Zelda MMO, and no, never, don't do it. Resist it, Nintendo. So I
mean, there is the Four Swords Adventures, which is actually a quite good game, but
yes,
that was a
3DS
totally different type of game, a totally different. Especially designed for that. Obviously, you have Triforce Heroes from recently, right?
Right,
also,
which I heard bad things about. I heard bad things about that game. I don't know.
Yeah, I never tried it myself, but mostly because I didn't have another friend who had a 3DS, I think, let alone wanted to play that game. But it could have been cool. But I guess maybe it's since I've spent so much time just adoring Breath of the Wild and the solitude and the just the quiet adventure that's sublime single player experience is, like the thought of throwing some weirdo in there who's just how stupid is it, like when you're in an online game, even just walking or watching somebody walk around you or run around you in circles or whatever, just like, doesn't that just totally destroy the immersion of anything? like
I'm usually the one doing that to people. So,
right.
Because
or just running into
broken.
a wall, just
yeah.
whatever it looks like. But then again, this is Nintendo. They are usually pretty good at, making video games. And so if there's anyone I could trust to do it well, it's probably them. We also could be just taking this completely wrong, and they're not thinking about doing that at all. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know what in-game events could mean. But either way, I'm excited about new Zelda.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's move on. So, Smash DLC. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate coming out here soon. Yes, Brandon is excited. I'm excited. And so we heard in the direct from last week that they were going to be picking 5 DLC characters that they would release over the course of the next year once the game releases, and it seems like those have already been chosen. Nintendo was the one who picked the ones this time, according to Sakurai via his Twitter page, and he just decided, but basically is assuming they could actually make a fighter out of it, then. They went for that, and they chose to do that. So this is, I'm sure, just, sort of a public service announcement, but also sort of just like Sakurai had a follow-up tweet that was like, in essence. So please stop talking to me forever and ever.
You'd think he'd love to communicate with the outside world a little bit.
So yeah, I mean, we don't know who those characters are yet, but at this point, it looks like, you know, the game is content complete in terms of at least the planning stages, you know. So good for them.
Yeah. I really hope that you get just like everyone except for Luigi.
Wah Peach.
Toad,
Wah
Peach.
yeah.
Wah Piranha Plant.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a deep cut.
Yeah.
You get the brand new character Piranha Plant, and then in the same game you get but no Waluigi. Okay. But yeah, maybe Sakurai will get to take a break eventually.
Never. It's never gonna happen.
Okay, so number 3 on the news line. I only just heard about this yesterday, and this got me really excited because although many people may not be familiar with this, there were 3 games that were announced to come to the Switch early 2019. Excuse me. The one that more people have probably heard of anyway is Spinks and the Cursed Mummy. Did you ever play this one, Mark? It was on GameCube.
I did not play that one.
Dude, this is a super fun game. It's a 3D platformer, and it, as the name implies, it's about a guy named Spinks in sort of an ancient Egyptian setting, along with a mummy. But they have unique gameplay mechanics. So the Spinks is sort of your traditional 3D action platformer hero. He fights, he does combat, and he traverses the world and has a sword and all those things. But the mummy, when you play as him, you get to, he can't die because he's dead already, essentially. So you get to put him into all the traps that Spinks can't go through. So the mummy can get, utterly crushed or burned or, just flattened or whatever, and go through all these horrible things. And so it's very comedic in the art style, and it's just very well done. But it creates some very interesting puzzle mechanics for you getting past certain areas, because you can get skewered by the spikes, or you can get pushed around or flattened, like I said earlier. And it's just a really charming game, really fun, and interesting, kind of interesting story. Too good setting. So there's Spinks and the Cursed Mummy. You may not have heard as much about the Book of Unwritten Tales 2 and The Raven Remastered. These are 2 games that came from a game studio called King Art Games. Love the work that they do. We did reference the Book of Unwritten Tales a little before, way back when we did a soundtrack review for the original Book of Unwritten Tales game. Which the original Book of Unwritten Tales, if you've not played that game, please do yourself a favor and play it. It's from quite a few years ago at this point, but it's one of the best traditional point-and-click adventure games of the last 10 years. It's out for PC, and it's a spoof. The series is a spoof on all kinds of classic adventure movies and books, and Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia, Harry Potter, all these different genres, and it's a funny game, and there's some cool puzzles, great color palette, excellent characters, love it. And this is the Book of Unwritten Tales 2, of course, is the sequel to that. All
I know about that is that I like the font for the title.
Yes, the font is great.
Like the font.
Book of Unwritten Tales 2 has been released on several other platforms over the last couple of years. I think it was on PlayStation Plus, and now it's on Xbox Game Pass. It's been on sale for a lot of different things. Definitely play this, because I really, really want to play Book of Unwritten Tales 3 someday. But unfortunately, they're not working on it right now. They're working on a real-time strategy game, which I guess I can see they want to do something different for a little while, which is cool. But hopefully this will be something for them to come back to. And then The Raven is another one that we're going to do a soundtrack review. By the way, both of those games, their composer is Benny Ashman, and he wrote. He's just keep an eye out for that name, Benny Ashman. He is going to be. I'm convinced the guy is going to be on a major film score someday. He's younger than I am, and he's written music for 3 or 4 games now, and he's done like recording sessions with his compositions in LA and different places. Like, he's a really up and coming great composer. But The Raven is another point and click adventure game. It's based on the idea that it's sort of a classic in the fashion of like an Agatha Christie murder mystery type thing. And but it's got some great characters. But the cool thing is it shows you the story events from 2 totally different perspectives. And so you really cool. You get to experience it from both sides. It's really neat. So definitely be on the lookout for those. I know I'm very excited about those. Why don't you go on to the next story there, Mark? Number 4.
Yeah, all right. So new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe includes a lot of new features. So you got any character can be used in single player, which is really cool because wasn't in single player you could only be Mario, or man, it's been a while since I played that.
Well, I think they're specifically talking about Mario or Luigi, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah.
It's still a multi. Yeah, it's like a 4 or 5 player game, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think they just specifically mean Luigi.
The 5th player could. Yeah, the 5th player used
in the Wii U version. Yeah.
So I don't know what they'll do about that on the Switch, but
I don't think that's included in this one.
Yeah, I don't think so. But then Mario can be played in the new new Super Luigi U levels, so that's kind of cool. I wonder, like, because of the difference in how each player handles and how they jump. I wonder how that's going to affect the gameplay. That's kind of cool. New Super Luigi U levels start at 200 seconds instead of 100, which I never really liked a short time frame on those levels. Anytime I was playing, trying to like.
Did you play Super Luigi U?
I did not play Super Luigi U outside of renting it. So I've got maybe 5 levels in. I like exploring the levels. I've always liked that about Mario games. So. But
I thought that was kind of the gimmick of the Super Luigi Yellows Yellows.
Yep.
It was to be fast and to really challenge you on some of those kind of things. But I wonder though if it's an automatic, like they're always 200 seconds, or if it's like an option you can turn on.
Yeah, I don't know. And then the buttons can now be remapped to the pause menu, which. I like that because there were definitely times when I wanted to lay my right thumb across the buttons one way or another, and I like being able to have that option. So that's kind of cool.
Sweet.
But yeah, so some new features for that, which is great. News item number 5. Nintendo hints at future DLC for Zelda Breath of the Wild Mario. That's the title of this news.
But yeah, that's a little shorter than it's just the name of the link there. Breath of the Wild Mario. I want to play that game.
That would be insane.
Just jumping and hopping around.
Mario and Cappy making their way. Yeah.
Yeah. You can be a Bokoblin. You can be whoever else. Okay,
Not only do you have to get 900 Korok seeds, you got to get 999 Power Moons. You're never going to leave this game.
I'm already not going to leave this game. Okay, let's talk about the story that actually is. So there's a quote from one of the Nintendo executives at a recent investors meeting that says, titles like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Super Mario Odyssey are what we call, quote, hardware drivers, in that consumers are very often interested in buying these titles when making a new hardware purchase. Titles released already in the previous fiscal years remain capable of driving hardware sales. The key is to figure out what makes these titles appealing and how we can get consumers to understand that appeal. Going forward, we plan to incorporate add-on content and other factors that will keep these titles in the spotlight so they will continue to sell alongside the hardware. We take the value of software very seriously. What we want with our evergreen titles is to maintain their values as long as possible without lowering the prices. So, there's the quote. I can see... So which of these titles that they mentioned do you think we might legitimately get DLC for, Mark?
Oh,
if they're being serious about like future DLC for these kinds of things.
the easiest one to get DLC out for, in my opinion, would be Mario Kart 8. I mean, they could.
Think so?
Yeah, just
throw in another track or two.
Yeah, I mean, they could easily just, make one new track and then have updates of like 2 or 3 others and be like, hey, $10, and I'd go, hey, Nintendo, here's $10.
Right.
That seems
right.
really easy for them.
And since that series has already branched out into, they have the Link, the Zelda level and the Animal Crossing level and some of those games. Yeah, it seems like it would be relatively easy to branch out into whatever kind of series they want to incorporate in that.
Yeah.
I also think it would seem like, I don't know why they haven't done this in the first place, but in terms of Mario Odyssey, why they haven't created just a couple of new kingdoms to expand that game.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Why on earth hasn't that happened yet? So that seems like a good... In fact, I wonder, we've got the Game Awards coming up here in just under a month. I wonder if we might get an announcement of some Super Mario Odyssey DLC.
Yeah.
But then again, it's been over a year since the game came out and they didn't do it. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think that would have something. Even if they just said like, hey, here's like Champions Road from Mario 3D World. We're going to give you the Odyssey take on that. Like, and then let people try to beat it and post their times. Like
something.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Why not? Now people have been talking about, they're going to add some DLC to Breath of the Wild. And I think, I don't think that's the case at all. That game has been out for so long now. And
I think that's got a capstone on it. I think that's done.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I remember reading when the second DLC was coming out that they were very much like, hey, this game is content complete. I believe they used those words.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And so, I don't think there's, especially, that would just be a weird thing. They got to work on the new game at this point. So,
I mean, they already put a motorcycle on the last one. They don't need to do anything more. Like, leave it alone. I see what you're doing, and you got greedy. Like,
by the way, exactly how long did you use that motorcycle for once you got it, Mark?
10 minutes maybe.
Yeah, I think that's what I've heard a lot of people say.
It's like, oh, neat. Not great.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah.
It's a curiosity.
All right. We've got one more story. We're making pretty good time here so far. We got one more story, and that is that there's a YouTube app available on Switch now.
Yay.
Neat.
Yes, neat. Neat.
Woo.
Uh-huh.
I guess. If you want it. It's...
Whatever.
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
I know. Netflix would make more sense, but I get why they wouldn't bring that to it. But maybe they will in the future. But I don't care. I think everyone, whatever. Like YouTube.
Great.
Cool.
Anyway.
Yeah. Don't put Instagram on it. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's get into our top 5. All right,
and
we're back.
Oh, you said we're double back. You told me to take the lead. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I did, and I realized how that could have been taken. And we're back. And now Brad's going to take the lead on his top 5 NES Sports Games. Brad,
nailed that intro. Nailed it. Okay.
And
well, folks, we got a top 5 for you this week, and we're pretty excited about it. This is our top 5 NES Sports Games. And as I was doing some research for this, I realized there were a lot of sports games on the NES. There was like over 100 of the, 600, 700 games total that came out in that system.
Yeah.
It's quite a few. So, I was just kind of looking through the list and I kind of curated my own list. Now, I will say this before I get into my honorable mentions. These are my favorite of them, not necessarily the best sports games on them, because that's just kind of how maybe how my nostalgia works. But, Anyway, so I've got a couple honorable mentions, and these might be contentious again, mostly just because I didn't play one or two of them, and here we go. Anyway, so Blades of Steel, great hockey game, great fighting mechanic in it, a lot of fun with that. But if I had to pick a hockey game in terms of them, I'd probably go with ice hockey, but I don't know. It's good, but didn't quite make the list. And ice hockey didn't make the list either, so I guess it doesn't make sense. Punch Out. Punch Out, I never owned growing up, and I only ever played it much later. And I'm bad at it, and I didn't want to take the time to learn all the tells and everything, so I never really got into that game. So that's why it didn't really make my list. But I understand the fact that it's a very well, revered game, and that it has some good mechanics in it. And then Track and Field. This one I actually legitimately enjoyed, mostly because we used it at youth group events every now and then. And I just remember being so sweaty playing this game until I finally realized the trick of just using your hands, kneeling down with your hands and doing it that way. Because of course you had to give more context if you haven't played this game. This game came with a mat that had almost like DDR button things on it, and you'd have to use your feet back and forth to run in Track and Field, and then you could do like hurdles, you could do jumping and all that. But there were so many ways to game the system. Hurdle, or you could do hurdles, you could do running, you could do the long jump, but all you had to do for the long jump was just, run for a little bit and then jump off, but never come back down.
Yep.
So there was lots of ways to game the system, but it was still a fun thing and a cool game to go with it. So those are my honorable mentions.
Yeah, and I don't think that was Track and Field. Wasn't that like World Class Track Meet or something like that?
Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe that's what I'm remembering. Sorry.
No, and I played that with my friend John Zania back in like third grade in his basement. And yeah, it was. We tried running on it, for a short while, and then we quickly realized, like, wait, we would just like get down on the ground and like pound our fists on it and like
exactly, yeah.
And then just like you would jump forever then, because then it's like, well, when do I want to put my hands back down on the pad? It was that game was fun. So my honorable mention included Track and Field 2, which was a really good game for honing button mashing skills, because it really was just a button mash fest. Like you were just pressing that button as fast as you could and developing that fast twitch in your right thumb. So I really like that one, and it has some really good music in it. Base Wars was a really fun baseball game with robots that included some like RPG elements where you were like powering up your robots as you went through league play, adding the new, if I remember right, like new like rocket arms and stuff, because every time if there was like a close play at any base, you got into like a little battle with the opposing player, and it would go to this little battle sequence, and you had some robots could like hover, and some robots could like shoot really far, and that was fun. That was a fun game. Not my top 5, but I definitely enjoyed playing that game. I have another baseball game that made my top 5, but and I don't know what if you're a listener, I mean, you might have some idea about that. But so Base Wars, I also played a lot of Tecmo NBA basketball. That was my favorite basketball game. I did some Jordan versus Bird. I did some Double Dribble back in the day, and the arcade version of that game has a really terrible national anthem. You just got to hear it. Maybe we'll put that in the outro or something to the episode. But Tecmo NBA basketball was a really fun game.
That's the one that you won the neighborhood championship on?
That one. Played every single game of the season. We did that with the football game too, which we'll talk about that later. But man, Tecmo NBA basketball, fun game. Super Dodgeball. Throw balls at people and knock them over. Really fun. And the same cast of characters as River City Ransom, and that I can't remember the name of that. Whatever the word I want to use is, but all those characters were used in like a series of games.
Right.
Yeah, so that was fun. And then I actually hadn't played it until you mentioned it on the NES online with the Switch, but NES Open is actually
throw balls at people and knock them over, right?
Yeah. No, well, that and NES Open is like a pretty good golf game. I played it, and it's got some really nice graphics too. I was really impressed. Like when you're rolling that ball into the cup, it's like it looks good. It looks really good.
Sure.
So
I was trying to make a joke about NES Open, but that's okay.
Okay.
Throw balls at people and knock them over.
That's why I don't go golfing, because I accidentally almost hit people.
Yeah, right. Because you played with me.
I got kicked off a golf course once for throwing balls up on the driving range and trying to hit them like I was in batting practice with my friend. But if you made contact with the head of the driver, that ball would go like 300 yards and up as well as 300 yards out. It was awesome. I also hit a porta-john on English Hills golf course once. There was a porta-john halfway out on the course. There was somebody in the porta-john at the time, and that ball hit it like it sounded like a gunshot when it hit that porta-john. We all ran. We were like, that person probably just soiled themselves if they weren't already sitting down. But anyways, so that's my story of golf. But let's get into our top 5. Yeah, seriously. So, yeah, I was helping him out. It's speeding the process up there, buddy. Get back out there and play your round through. All right, so go ahead with your number 5, Brad.
Oh, my word. Okay. Now, my number 5 is Double Dribble.
Double Dribble.
Double Dribble. Yeah, I forgot about that. The audio cues in that were pretty great. Double Dribble was a surprisingly good basketball game. It was just, I don't know, you know why. It was just like, you could actually make baskets, and not every basketball game that I play you can actually make baskets, and it just felt like everything moved quickly, and there was a good flow to the games, and they were relatively high scoring. The graphics were pretty decent, and it just had a fun aesthetic. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a good game. Yeah, you really that national anthem from the arcade version. They got this like electronic voice that just sounds so bad.
Nice.
It might be the most unintentionally disrespectful national anthem I've ever heard. So, my number 5 is a really fantastic volleyball game. I debated between putting Kings of the Beach on here because I played that one maybe more than this game, but this one was the better game, and that would be Super Spike V-Ball. Man, that game was so good. I always played with the big muscular power guys because when you got into the later stages, you couldn't mash the button fast enough to block shots or hit, super spike on the opposing teams. I remember there was a match that took place on an aircraft carrier, and then there was one that took place in Russia or something like that, and I think that was the last match was Russia, and I think I beat it once, but maybe I'm just remembering watching someone do that. But really good game. Such a good game. Such a good soundtrack. Man, that soundtrack's fantastic. And great graphics for the Nintendo NES. Good game. Really good game.
Awesome. Yeah, so my number 4 is actually just that as well. So Super Spike V-Ball, fantastic game. I agree. You get to the last stage or two, that is nearly impossible.
So hard.
Just to knock the blocks that they do, or to get a spike in there, and they would always block it so hard, and then if you're done. You just don't have a chance to get it back. So difficult, but I do remember spending a lot of time. That was the game that taught me about the actual rules of volleyball and rally point and or the what's the other version of it where
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
It's rally point, and then the one where serve point or something. If it falls on if you lose a point, essentially the other team doesn't get a point, but it just goes to them. Yeah.
Score, yeah.
That's I remember learning how to do that through that game. I don't know, little thing, but super cool game.
Yep.
That's it. Number 4. Cool.
My number 4 is ice hockey. I saw that you put. I had the benefit of seeing your list first, and I was like, "Oh, Blades of Steel is really good." But if I was going to put one hockey game on my list, it would have to be ice hockey because
I don't know why I didn't put that on mine.
Well, now they both got mentioned, and they they both deserve to be mentioned. But yeah, ice hockey, man, a team of fatties, and oh man, I love that game. I love ice hockey. It's still fun. It's so fun, and the music in it is great. It's like got that like I don't know. It kind of sounds like a marimba or something, but it's it's just good game. So
still the 4th or 5th best game on Nintendo Online right now.
Is it really? Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic, and it was an early release too for the system. So, and you got to see the Zambonis go out and
Zambonis.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Really good game.
All right, should we do this one jointly? Because it's the same thing.
It's our number 3, and that would be Dusty Diamond's All-Star Softball. Hey, it made it into the episode this time. That's organically right. Too. So
yeah, Dusty Diamond is great. I included another baseball game on my list here besides this one, mostly because I really didn't play Dusty Diamond until, we'll say, later in life. But it's still from what I've played. So I played less of it than the other game, but it's still a great game. I love the just the characterizations of people and the different team. The way you choose teams is hilarious.
So good. It's like when you're in a neighborhood game and like you're taking turns picking sides, except you're just not taking turns. You're just claiming everyone as fast as you can.
You're running around the yard, just grabbing people and dragging them to your side.
Like that's its own game. Is like picking teams is so fun and just chaotic. But
yeah. What else do you like about them?
I love how the different fields have different rules. I think that's such a good idea. Such a good idea. Like
what are some examples?
Like the park. If the ball, there's a home run line, so if it lands the first time it touches the ground after you hit it is across the line, it's a home run. But otherwise, it can roll across the home run line. And I totally remember playing. Like in my neighborhood growing up, we had 2 different fields we'd play on, and there was one that was just like this really long field, and there was definitely like this like area where we said if it goes past this tree, that's a home run. Right. And so like the home run line is great, but like in that across that line are like trees and benches and then a lake. And so the ball can go in the lake and it's still in play. It's like, oh crap.
Wait.
So you're like swimming out to get the ball. But if you have the right character out there, like Froggy, he can swim in there really fast and you could still maybe throw them out at the plate. I mean, if the schoolyard, you break a window, you're out. It's like, but that was a home run. Yeah, but you broke a window. You're out, buddy. So Dusty Diamond's such a good game.
It's so creative. It's really cool.
Yep.
Good old Dusty Diamond.
Cool. So that's our number 3. Brad, how about you go with number 2?
All right. Number 2 is another baseball game, and this is Bad News Baseball. I love Bad News Baseball because kind of like Dusty Diamond, it's a different take on the baseball game. It wasn't trying to be super simmy. It's definitely very arcadey, but it had so much charm and so much character. The referees were like rabbits, and they would they were just dressed up so like funnily, like humorously, and like whenever you like all the players had like fun names, and they were all kids. All the players were kids, so they just had like Jimmy and Dan and all these different kids that they're out there, they're playing, and you I forget which team I always played as, but I found the best team, and it was just like the animations are just fun to watch. Whenever there was a close play at a base, like it would go into like a little cinematic cutscene, and it would show. Whether like it was like a sliding play, and then the referee would say, or the umpire would say, why did I say referee? The umpire would say, "You're out," or safe, and it was just kind of a more dramatic take, and it also had some better mechanics than, for instance, the really poor baseball game on the NES Online. Or the Nintendo Online NES game, which was just traditional baseball, which when you get a hit, it does not make all of the fielders move at once.
Sure.
So you actually have some control over the infield versus the outfield, and you can it's easier to direct where you want to throw the ball or which base you want to throw it to. And so it just has a lot of smart quality of life improvements for a baseball game. And again, but mostly just the charm of the game. And, you know, it was just a unique way to play. It was fun.
I'm looking at the wiki page of that right now. In Japan, it was called Gekito Sutajiamu, which translates to literally Fierce Fighting Stadium. This is a great translation.
Nice.
And it also says reception. Bad news, baseball generally receives average reviews from critics. That's all it says on the wiki page. But no, nice. I'm looking at it, and it actually looks, graphically, it looks pretty decent. So I haven't played it. I'll have to check it out sometime soon. So my number 2 is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I played so much of this game. I just played so much of this game. And I actually played it as Punch-Out after the license with Mike Tyson had expired. And it doesn't matter which version you're playing because Mr. Dream plays just like Mike Tyson, but I like playing the Mike Tyson version a little bit better just because you're fighting Iron Mike, and that was just cool. He was the baddest dude on the planet back in the late '80s, and to see yourself as Little Mac out there fighting him was great. The pattern recognition of that game, it was so hard, but such a great feeling of accomplishment when you could like really figure out how to beat one of those guys, and it was like, yes, I'm really good. Right. And like Bald Bull, when you could like poke him in the stomach when he was doing his bull charge and knock him out with just like one little poke. That was great. And like I don't know, Mr. Sandman was so tough. Mr. Dream, or sorry, not Mr. Dream, Super Macho Man with his laughing pecs when he would laugh and flex his pecs at you. And then Soda Popinski, who in the arcade was called Vodka Drunkinski. Which is just like so many. The game was built on like stereotyping. Right. I don't know if that game would be made today, but man, it was fun. It wouldn't. But I don't know what King Hippo would be a stereotype of outside of maybe just like all Americans. Right. But man, that game was so fun. I loved Tyson's Punch-Out. So that's my number 2.
Awesome. And my number 1, I've talked about before on the show. I forget which top 5 we did before, or maybe I just mentioned it in passing. But this is one that it didn't officially even make the list of 100 as far as I saw of the ones I was looking at earlier. But it's Gold Medal Challenge.
I have no idea what this is. I'm looking at your list the whole time, and I'm like, I don't know if this is a game. I think this is just a vivid memory of the dream.
Gold Medal Challenge is an Olympics game.
Oh, no.
And it's actually quite awesome. Or at least it was in my memory from, 8-year-old Brad.
It's made by Capcom.
Gold Medal Challenge, yeah, it's a really, I don't know what it is. There was probably 7 or 8 different events you could compete in, but I only did 2. I did the track games and I did the swimming. And let me tell you, I was the master of the swimming. I was not very good at track, but there were other events you could compete into. For whatever reason, the swimming was interesting because it wasn't just mashing the buttons. You had to actually like find a rhythm of your button mashing to make the strokes have their full effectiveness. And I just remember feeling so empowered when I figured out the exact rhythm of how each stroke went, because then I would like lap everyone multiple times. It was really fun. And like I said, the track part of the games were cool too. I want to say there was an archery version too. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've played that game. But I just toss? That sounds right. There were just a lot of good quality mini games in there, and I just remember having so much fun. I rented that many times, and then I couldn't find it one time, and then I couldn't find it ever again. like the rental store got rid of it or something, and I was very sad.
Interesting.
I think that's how it went down.
I'm looking at a lot of pictures of it right now. I see there's a weightlifting part of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the weightlifting. I was so good at weightlifting.
Graphically, it looks really interesting. It just looks cool.
Yeah, the art style is great.
It's got like a Mighty Final Fight vibe to it.
I need to go back and play that again. Just find it, or at least maybe I just need to watch some YouTube. That's all I need to do. Just to get that nostalgia going again and having a good time. So
cool.
Anyway, that's my number one gold medal challenge. Check it out.
Yeah,
it's legit.
Cool. And my number one, if you've listened to me on any of these, this probably isn't much of a surprise, but it's Tecmo Super Bowl. That game is still the best football game that was ever made, and it's not even close. It's just that good. It's the essence of a video game and a sports game. It's like perfectly both of those things. Like everything strives for realism now with Madden games, and this was a game. This was a video game. I mean, you could, go to one end zone with BJ Tolliver and launch this 100-yard pass from one end zone to the other, and he had such slow passing speed that ball would just like go slowly sailing up to the top of the screen, and then a minute later would come down in the other end zone. Or you had Dan Marino with his rocket arm, and he would do the same pass, and it would take like 3 seconds to get all the way down the field. So that game was just so good. And you had Bob Nelson. Bob Nelson. If you didn't use Bob Nelson, you might consider him the greatest video game villain of all time. But Bob Nelson. Oh, and
tell the story again real quick for the listeners that might not have heard it.
Yeah, Bob Nelson was the nose tackle for the Green Bay Packers. He had I think a 2 or 3 year career in the NFL, and he wasn't good. But he and I say that relative to NFL players. You're good enough to make it to the NFL, you're good. But that's beside the point. In the game, he was unbelievable. He had the speed of Bo Jackson and the tackling power of Bruce Smith. He was just like this undeniable force. And all you had to do every time the opposing team snapped the ball was just tap down or up and then press B to nose dive, and you would slide and sack the quarterback. There were like 2 quarterbacks that could get away from it reliably, and one of them was QB Eagles, which was Randall Cunningham, who didn't allow his name to be in the game. Same with Jim Kelly, who was QB Bills, and there was one other quarterback, QB something, I can't remember at this point, but yeah, there was like this whole quarterback club like fight over like keeping their, like that was the actual name of it, the quarterback club, and they were like trying to like fight for their licensing rights, but that's another story. But yeah, Bob Nelson, man. Yeah, Tecmo Super Bowl. If you haven't played that, man, that game is just fun. There's still an active community with that game that play regularly, that get together for tournaments regularly, like nationwide tournaments, and do updated roster releases with physical carts that you can get every year with updated rosters. Go ahead.
Man, I was gonna say, is it like that's my train of thought. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, but like they also have added like some new mechanics, like juke moves that you can add in, and like the new games that you can get. I think they're like $50 a cart every year they release it, and it's just such a dedicated community because it's such a good game. So yeah, that's my number one.
Is it kind of like when people play GoldenEye and they say no odd job? So like you can't use Bob Nelson or certain teams or something like that.
Hey, in my neighborhood, it was you could use him. So I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like if you can't get away from Bob, you're not good. So because I did lose games as Bob Nelson, but usually not. Usually not.
Right.
So, yeah.
Very nice. Cool.
I guess we should get into
that's it.
What we've been playing.
That's our top 5. Yeah, let's go on to what we've been playing.
All right.
Oh, Oh, now that's got.
Now
That's
I'll let
really,
you
okay.
take the lead.
We need communication skills working on here. See, I can't even talk. It's so late.
We're
It's so
with
late.
what we've been playing, Brad. Take the lead.
What we've been playing, yes. Oh, gosh. Okay, so I have been playing, you guessed it, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild.
Oh, man.
I have an update, though. I have finally started doing some more things that Mark would be proud of. I have started to explore Ganon's Castle.
Oh, the music. The music. Oh, my goodness, the music. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
The music is pretty great in there, for sure. So yes, I finally resolved that I need to go in there and look around for multiple reasons. Number one, I want to get everything before I actually go fight Ganon, right? So there's the Royal Guard set that's in the castle. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to get that. And I also found out that there's actually a decent number of Korok seeds within the castle as well.
Yes, there are.
So I'm going and trying to explore all that. I've gotten 2 of the 3 Royal Guard things. I can't find the third. I'm getting a little annoyed, actually. But I loved the sense of the newness and discovery of being in a totally new place that I hadn't been in the game before, and just exploring again. Kind of like those early days worth of hours of exploring Breath of the Wild. And so, but it's been really cool. It's a very, very, atmospheric area. Of course, it did take me a little bit of time to get used to the map, because it's like all 3D-ified and, kind of following yourself inside, outside the castle. That's taken me a little getting used to, but it's fun, and I'm sure I've gained all kinds of, I'm going to go back and buy a whole bunch of ancient arrows and armor and all that stuff, because I've defeated so many guardians within the castle or around the castle that I've gained a lot of those skills and stuff. So I'm having fun with that. As soon as I get that last item from the Royal Guard series, I'm going back to the grind. Gonna get the rest of the shrines for the DLC stuff, and gonna get. Oh, and there was also a shrine in the castle itself, too. Mm-hmm. So a regular shrine. Yep. So I had to get that as well. So anyway, I'm going to go back and just continue to check things off my list. Things are going well so far. Still really enjoying myself. What else have I been playing? I've also been playing more Mark of the Ninja. That's a game I started playing last time. Been just really enjoying that. It's still super well designed. Continuing to get further than that. It's really nice. On my Xbox, I was playing Rise, Son of Rome, which is like an Xbox One launch game. It's like the Roman soldier. There's all these huge set piece moments, and there's some cool combat. Kind of repetitive, but it's been really fun. Again, that was a game free on Game Pass, so I just figured I'd try it out. And I also am going to try some PUBG here soon, because that one just came out on Game Pass as well, so it'll be fun. And then finally, I just got about 45 minutes of it in today. Just came out, so excited. Hitman 2. It's finally here, man. Hitman 2. The first game I really fell in love with, which the first game is not really the first game. It's like the first reboot, remaster game, whatever you want to call it, from 2 years ago. And they just released the sequel for that one today. Can't wait to dive into that more.
Cool.
That's what.
Can I give you a small spoiler about the castle? If you don't want it, that's fine. I was gonna say one more.
Thanks.
Okay, I was gonna say one more collectible that you should get before you do leave, but that's all right.
That's good.
All right. Okay. All right. Make sure you thoroughly explore the castle, because there'll be something where you go, oh, and it'll be like a warm blanket. So that's all I'm going to say. All right. So I've been playing.
Wait, I know what you're talking about.
What's that?
A protective item?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I got that.
Oh,
That's
okay.
cool.
Okay. Cool. All right. I don't know if we have to speak in code. The game has been out for a long time, but
this is true. Okay, it's the Hylian Shield.
Yeah,
right?
the Hylian Shield. Yeah. With this, I think it's in like a Stalnox, isn't it, or something like that?
Somewhere in there, yeah. Yeah. You fight a little boss for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So
it's pretty sweet.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So I've been playing, of all things, Octopath Traveler, and I am fully back into that game. I am 100% invested in beating the game at this point. Had about a month or so off in the thick of marching band season, and I started worrying, am I going to be able to get back into this game? And absolutely I am. So it's, man, that game's so good. I just finished all my chapter 3s. I've finished my first chapter 4, which is both exciting and also a little bit sad, because it's that brings a conclusion to that character's story. They're done. And I can still use them, but it's no more new story elements. So, anyways, I'm probably seeing how much leveling up I'm going to need to do. I know that I've probably got another 10 to 20 hours in that game, and then I'll be done. But I hit the 60-hour mark, and man, it's just a good game. Really, really fun. And I played a little bit of Fortnite. I played literally 5 minutes of it, and then I thought, I don't want to play this, so I turned it off, and then I played some Splatoon 2 instead. So Splatoon, that game is still just so fun, and I'm so glad that I finally got it, because ever since Splatoon came out, I thought, this is like a game that was made for me. Like, I love the idea of it, and man, I just love that game. It's super fun. So,
do you feel like you're when you go online and play? Are you playing online? Are you playing multiplayer?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel like you have good matchups?
Oh yeah.
The people that. Yeah. It wasn't like that one game you played where you played the first time and you were the best.
No, that was terrible. What was that, Arena of Valor or Paladins or something? I was just like, everyone's bad. Everyone's bad. No, they're like, people are legitimately good. Do
you feel competitive?
Oh, absolutely. I do feel like I'm fairly good at that game, but I know I'm like just above, in the grand scheme of things. I'm probably just above mediocre. Like I'm better than more people that I play with than I'm not. But did I say that right? It's been late. Whatever. I think that made sense. I definitely encounter a lot of people that are better than me, but I feel like I hold my own. So, fun awesome game. So, anyways, that's what I've been playing.
Great. All right, let's move on real quick here. We got one more segment to do, and that is our retrospective review of
Zombies Ate My Neighbors. All right, we're back with our retrospective review of Zombies Ate My Neighbors. And man, there's a really soft spot in my heart for this game. Man, is it hard, but it's such a good game. And it's a LucasArts game. It's a top-down run and gun, and that's a heavy emphasis on the run part of run and gun, because maybe some people have some, really good success with the gun part of it and like taking out enemies, but I felt like I ran out of ammo and just ran out of the ability to eliminate enemies if I tried to take them out. And I played this game.
This was a Super Nintendo game, right?
Super Nintendo. It was also on the Genesis. The Super Nintendo, they edited out like some blood, but the blood I think was only like on the game over screen. Like it would just like drip down from the top of the screen. So it was like, it was like purple ooze. It was like, ooh, like bug juice or something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
So anyways, I played this game quite a bit with my neighbor Charlie Clapp growing up, and there's so many cool things about this. So many things that feel like, I guess the way I would like to phrase it is, it's an incredibly well polished take on like horror B movies. And I really enjoy it. And the weapons in the game, you had things like squirt guns to bazookas, silverware and popsicles. Like, what?
Silverware.
The silverware, but it worked out well because it made sense when you thought about like how in horror movies you would defeat enemies. So like werewolves, if you had like silverware, I believe it was the werewolves, you would use that on them and you could take them out in one hit.
Oh, right.
So there were like cool little touches like that, and it had this really bright, colorful aesthetic in this horror genre, which is such a cool way of doing that. Like you don't see games like that nowadays. If you see a horror type game, it's going to be dark and grimy and dirty and dusty, and you're like not sure if you're able to see around the corner. Everything is fog, but this was just like colorful and with a really it was great. The enemies were taken from horror and B movies, so you had like I said, werewolves out there and like babies and like creepy babies and things like that. Apparently, there are 48 levels. You could have told me that there were 30. You could have said there were 300. I had no idea because my buddy and I never made it past level 20. Invasion of the Snakeoids. That level will forever be seared into my frustration, into my memory of frustration. That level, I don't know how to beat it. I never beat it.
What is a Snakeoid?
It's a big, caterpillar thing that bursts out of the ground. It's just, But so I never made it past level 20. But it was hard to get that far. But really cool game. I remember the girl had this purple baseball hat, and the guy had spiky hair and 3D glasses. He was running around with 3D glasses. It was so cool. That's such a great idea. He wanted to see everything in 3D. So, and then it was just hard to beat that feeling of drinking a potion and turning into a raging monster and just being able to lay waste to all these enemies that you've been trying to conserve your ammo on. It's the pain train is coming, enemies. So I loved that. The soundtrack was fantastic. It also borrowed very heavily from the Shining soundtrack, as in a blatant ripoff, just at a half speed. It was at double time. So
that's funny. So was it bright and cheery as well? Upbeat.
At times, and at times maniacal. So underneath this, you're going to be hearing my video game band Playing with Power, our version of Zombies Ate My Neighbors medley we did. And the laughing that you hear in it is me. And I actually got very lightheaded doing the maniacal laughter. Really lightheaded. It was a one-take thing where I was like, I'm done. I can't do that again. So anyways, but really fun game. Have you ever played it, or at least watched videos on it, Brad?
I really haven't. I think I've seen a couple screenshots of it. That's about it.
Yeah.
A
LucasArts game that, just the kind of game that I just don't think it's made enough, where they just take a chance on a really goofy idea.
It has no right to be as good as it is.
Yeah. It was, man, it was fun. And it seems to have a cult following now. It wasn't ever incredibly successful, although as I was I played it earlier this week for the first time in probably a decade. But then I was doing some research on it, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" It had a sequel, and I never knew that. So I think it was called Ghoul Patrol or Ghoul School or something. But that one is even less known than Zombies Ate My Neighbors. But Zombies Ate My Neighbors, great game. If I were to give it a rating, I would give it a solid 48. So scared I soiled my loins out of 10. So that's pretty good. Yeah, that's my rating for it. So
awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
And that, I believe, brings us to our show wrap up.
Yes, it does.
Let's get on out of here.
Yes.
So thanks so much for listening, everybody. We, of course, as we mentioned at the top of the show, we are an every other week show. So this should be going up on the 15th of November. The next one will go up, I think, technically, on Thanksgiving. Nope, just kidding. That's next week. So it'll be the 29th, November 29th, for our next episode. We are on the YouTubes. We are on Twitter _directors. You can write into the show at Nintendo Directors Podcast at gmail.com. We'll read your email on the air, almost certainly, unless you're trolling. So yeah, be part of the show, guys. If you would be so kind as to go onto iTunes and give us a rating there, that would be super, super helpful. 5 stars are great. 12 is better. But we would just love for your input or any kind of feedback that you could give us. We want to make the show as good as we possibly can. But right now, we're all very sleep deprived and we need to go to sleep. So
hey, we have one more episode to record before we will have a Smash episode.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. We just got to slog through one more terrible episode, and then it'll all be good, everybody. We promise. It'll be good from there on.
Yeah. And by the way, today, the 13th of November, is also the day that Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee Pokemon games come out.
That's right.
And we don't care about those, so
yeah.
We're not gonna...
If you want to do a listener review, you can write in and tell us your thoughts.
Right.
We'll read about it.
I think what we'll do next week, Mark, is we'll talk about our impressions of the game without having played it.
Hey, I like it.
Yeah, let's plan that for next time.
Okay.
Sounds good. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you. Well, no, we won't talk. Yeah, actually, we will talk to you.
We will talk to you. You just won't talk to us.
That's right. That's right.
It's a one-way conversation.
Good night.
Good night. See ya. All right.